Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we are going to look at how to install the software that we will be working with in this workshop. The first thing we are going to install is Node.js, which is an open source JavaScript runtime environment. Node allows developers to write server-side applications with direct access to the OS and is required for the installation of Angular. NPM is the package manager for Node.js packages or modules if you like. It allows you to download, install, and manage various JavaScript modules that you will use in the Node applications that you develop. It is automatically included with the Node.js download. TypeScript is a language used for developing Angular apps. It's a superset of vanilla JavaScript that adds in strict typing and a variety of other features that support large-scale applications. We will use npm to install TypeScript. We will then install the Angular CLI, which simplifies the process of creating, building, managing, and testing Angular apps from the command line. Next, we will install an IDE to facilitate our process of developing Angular apps in TypeScript. There are a large variety of JavaScript-centric IDEs out there in use in the JavaScript developer community. Some of the more popular ones you may have heard about or used are Atom, Sublime Text, WebStorm, and Brackets. We will be using Visual Studio Code, an open source IDE developed by Microsoft based on Electron, a framework which is used to deploy Node.js applications for the desktop. Feel free to use whatever IDE you are familiar or comfortable with. However, for purposes of demonstrating Angular app development in this workshop, I will only be focusing on Visual Studio Code. We will be using an additional text editor as a temporary placeholder for our code snippets before we copy and paste them into Visual Studio Code. If you are using Windows, the standard pre-bundled Notepad text editor should be adequate, but I would recommend using Notepad++ as it offers some additional features that facilitate working with our code samples. Right, let's start off with installing Node and Npm. I will kick up Chrome and type download Node in the search bar. The first link that comes up should point to the Node.js download page. The current version at the time this video was made is 12.13.0, but it shouldn't really matter if you are downloading a later version. Select the appropriate installer for your OS, and for my case, I'm going to choose the installer for the 64-bit version of Windows 10 that I'm currently running on my machine. We should download the MSI installer to my downloads folder. Now I will go to the downloads folder and double click the installer to initiate the installation process. And then we will go through the various installation steps. You should stick to the recommended destination folder for installation unless you have some specific reason to install elsewhere. We don't need tools for native modules when working with Angular, but you can check this box if you think you might need it for future projects involving Python or C++. We proceed with the installation. Now that Node.js has completed installation, we can verify this by opening up a command prompt and typing node ---- version Next, we will install TypeScript by typing npm install -g TypeScript. The -g option tells npm to install TypeScript so that it's accessible globally. This ensures that the command line utilities for TypeScript, such as its compiler, are available in the system path and directly accessible from the command prompt in any directory. So now if we type tsc, we will be able to see the various command line options for the TypeScript compiler. Now, we can install the Angular CLI in a similar manner by typing npm install -g add Angular CLI. This process will take a while as npm downloads all the packages related to Angular and will depend on your broadband speed. Press enter for the privacy policy question and the installation should complete. We can verify successful installation by typing ng ---- version to check the current version of Angular. At the time of this video, it's 8.3, but no worries, nearly all the code that we are going to be using in this lab is not version specific and will run on earlier versions down to Angular 6. Now we are ready to install the IDE that we will be using in this workshop, Visual Studio Code. As I mentioned earlier, there are a plethora of good options when it comes to JavaScript-based IDEs, so feel free to use whatever IDE you have been comfortable working with in the past. Nevertheless, I would still encourage you to download and play around with Visual Studio Code, at least for the duration of this course, as it has many awesome features that has contributed to its growing adoption in the larger web developer community. I'll switch back to Chrome and type in a new tab, download Visual Studio Code. And once again, the first link that comes up should point to the download page. Again, select the appropriate installer for your OS. And here I will select the 64-bit system installer for Windows 10. And this should again kick off the download of the installable executable to your downloads folder. I will navigate to this folder and double click the installer in the installable to kickstart the installation. As usual, stick with the recommended installation destination unless you have specific reason not to. I'm going to select the following options to make it easier for me to access Visual Studio Code as well as open files with it. So I'm going to select the create a desktop icon, add open with code action, and the second add open with code action as well. And once the installation completes, you should see Visual Studio Code's welcome page. Finally, we will install Notepad++. As mentioned earlier, you can probably get away with using the standard Windows pre-bundled Notepad, but Notepad++ offers a few features such as syntax highlighting and multiple tabs that makes it easy for us to work with the various code snippets in our lab sessions. As usual, I'll switch back to Chrome, open a new tab and type download Notepad++. And once again, the first link that comes up should point to the download page. select one of the latest releases. I'm going to select Notepad 7.8.1. And I'll select the 64-bit installer, which will again kick off the download of the installable executable to your downloads folder. Again, navigate to this folder and double click the installable to kickstart the installation. As usual, stick with the recommended installation destination unless you have a specific reason not to. Now I'm going to add an option of a shortcut to the desktop to make it easier to access. And the Notepad app window should now open on completion of installation. Okay, I hope you have successfully completed installation of all the software that we need for this workshop in conjunction with this video. Great job, guys, and look forward to seeing you in the next video.